think it was last year I said this. It was back in my NFL days when I was covering the NFL. You go back and watch the previous episodes, man. Pigskin Frenzy's awesome. I said, hey, whoever I pick the opposite. And guess what? You might as well take my advice right now in the past couple of weeks, because 1-3 in both weeks. That's pretty rough. I'm not going to lie. That is pretty rough. I said this past weekend that, I need to get better. I just need to be better. Joel Norris needs to get better. As the prodigy of college football, I have a rep to uphold, and I need these games, and I need to get accurate on these ball games. And that's what we're going to try to do in Week 11, this coming up Thursday. But it's Tuesday. We're going to do Week 10 recaps. We got a lot of games. We're going to talk about the one game that I got right, and all the rest of the games that I got wrong. So talk about that. We got coaching carousel talk with a job opening that I thought, honestly, was going to open up sooner rather than later. And we also have, can you believe it, the first set of Frenzy playoff rankings. The rankings that matter. I talked about Crane & Company's rankings that matter. Shout out to Blaine Crane, David Collin, and Jay Crane from Crane & Company from the Daily Wire. Not only that, we have the college football playoff rankings coming out tonight. We also have the rankings that matter coming out now, and that is the Pigskin Frenzy playoff rankings, power ratings to be exact. And I'll add a couple of disclaimers to the rankings when we talk about it tonight or today on the show here at the end of the episode. But welcome to Pigskin Frenzy on this beautiful Tuesday afternoon. Thank you for joining us. I'm Joel Norris, and whether you're watching on YouTube, listening on Spotify, listening on Apple, a big thank you for taking some time out of your Tuesday to just sit back, watch, and listen to some college football coverage presented by me. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, like each episode, leave comments down below. Spotify, Podbean, and Apple, all you got to do is just share around with others and follow on there as well. X and Instagram is at Pigskin_Frenzy. Follow up the pages there. You're going to get episode updates, news and highlights from across college football, and my takes on there as well. You also get the website, www.pigskinfrenzy.weebly.com. Man, we're at 6,000 listeners. The last time I was talking with Shahan Jayaraja, shout out to him on Pigskin Frenzy as well from this past Thursday. Great Week 10 preview and prediction episode and guest picker with Shahan Jayaraja from CBS Sports. And I said this, we're at 5,700 listeners, 5,800 listeners, I think. As far as I know, we're at 6,000. We gained more listeners over the weekend, and we are so thankful. We could not do this without you guys. 6,000 listeners and counting. About to be at 6,100 listeners and counting. We cannot do this without you guys. And most importantly, we couldn't do this show without our Lord and Savior, Jesus. Without him, we wouldn't be here doing this, and we give him all the praise. And if you want to come to know Jesus as your Lord and Savior, contact me on X and Instagram at Pigskin_Frenzy and the website www.pigskinfrenzy.weebly.com. On the website, because it's the best decision you could ever make in your life, and it's honestly, he's changed my life for the better, and we give him all the praise for delivering us Pigskin Frenzy and putting us into college football media, not just to talk about college football, but to spread his name and praise his name across all platforms. So we give him all the praise for everything. Guys, college football talk, and let's get down to it, and let's talk about the one game that I got right in Week 10 recap. So let's get it going. Subscribe and follow on all platforms. So let's talk about the one game that I got right, and we're going to talk about Cincinnati and Utah. Cincinnati at Utah. Salt Lake City game day was there. I picked Utah to win the game. I thought Utah was going to the rushing was just going to be too much for Cincinnati's defense, and I got that right. Final score, and I will say this. I didn't think that this was going to be this bad, but in a way, I'm also not surprised because of how good Utah is on the ground. Final score was Utah 45, Cincinnati 14. Utah 45, Cincinnati 14. I picked Utah to win this game. I just felt like they were stronger on offense and stronger on the ground, and I didn't know if Cincinnati was going to be able to keep up, and they didn't keep up in the second half. Now, it was a little bit closer. I mean, it was like 24-7. Score-wise, it wasn't, but Cincinnati turned the ball, scored, then turned the ball over. Then Utah got mad after they turned the ball over and adjusted and capitalized, and it was 45-14 from there on out. How about Utah, man? Let me want to tell you something about Utah. We're talking about BYU and Texas Tech, which we're going to get to that here later in the show because, oh boy, do we have a game this weekend in Lubbock, Texas. But let's get to Utah. If you're talking about BYU and Texas Tech being the top two teams in the Big 12, yes, you're right. let's add Utah to that list as well, because I don't think Utah's going away, and they didn't seem like they're going away. Who were the two losses that Utah's had? The two teams that are playing each other this weekend, BYU and Texas Tech. Those are the only two losses they've had. Other than that, they're beating everybody on their schedule besides those two teams. And a two-loss Big 12 champion will most likely and should get into the college football playoff. That could be Utah. That could be Kyle Whittingham in Utah. If they keep playing the way they're playing and they just win out, I believe they will be in Dallas come early December. If they keep playing the way they're playing. Let's get into the negative circle moments and the positive circle moments for Utah. Devin Dampier did start. He had 2 touchdowns, 213 yards, 16 for 31. He didn't throw the ball as well, but usually it's okay to counter with a rushing attack as well. Devin Dampier can throw the ball well. Their passing game's good, but that rushing attack is just lethal. Wayshawn Parker is an absolute menace to defenses. 1 touchdown, 104 yards, 17 carries, 6.1 yards per rush. And then you got Bird Ficklin. I keep getting the last name. Bird Ficklin. He had 14 yards, 4 carries, and a rushing touchdown. He was the backup quarterback. He played last week when Devin Dampier was out against Colorado. And then Devin Dampier ended up starting against Cincinnati, and anything didn't really matter. It was all Utah. The rushing attack was good. I'm going to tell you what, though. Ryan Davis at receiver is an absolute menace to defenses as well. A touchdown, 132 yards, 8 receptions. And then Whitmore, 11-yard touchdown reception as well. Let's get to the positive circle moments for Utah. Positive, they had 480 yards on the ground, not on the ground, 480 yards total offense. They had 267 rushing yards on the ground. I'm busting out if you're seeing me on YouTube, I don't have the orange black pen anymore. Halloween's over. It's November. Positive circle moment. I just circled it. 267 rushing yards. And that's just a great stat. I'm going to get to Cincinnati in a minute because I think that's just as good. 480 total yards on offense. They were 7 for 15 on third down. That's pretty good. 84 total plays compared to Cincinnati's 63 total plays. And they had 29 first downs. Here is the big thing. The big positive circle moment. 40 minutes and 2 seconds compared to Cincinnati's 19 minutes and 58 seconds. Time of possession, I said that time of possession was going to be a key in this game, most likely for both teams. And it was for Utah. Cincinnati has had a little bit of trouble in that area, and it kind of got up to them in this game as well. 40 minutes and 2 seconds compared to their 19 minutes and 58 seconds. Utah, let me just back up. Everyone, if it's 40 minutes and 2 seconds compared to an opponent's 19 minutes and 58 seconds, you're probably going to lose the ball game because majority of the time, that's literally majority of Utah's offense being on the field. Let me just put it that way. The game is 60 minutes. It's basic, simple math. They had it for 20 minutes less than the average game time. So let's just be honest. Utah was going to win the ball game. They were just a good football team. They really are a good team. Now, if they go to a Dallas, are they going to win the rematch? Who knows? We don't know. But I will say this. This is a good football team. I think the only negative circle moments that I can think of are the 2 turnovers. The fumble and the interception. That's the only thing I can think of for Utah that's a negative circle moment. Other than that, everything's a positive. They look good on the ground. They look like a good football team. I mean, they're 7-2. They are 7-2, and they are in, spoiler alert, they're in my Frenzy playoff rankings. Now, they're in my ratings, and they should be in my rankings because they're a good football team. Now, will they win the rematch in Dallas? I don't know. That's too early to tell, but Utah is trucking along. Here's an interesting stat that I found out when I was covering this game. By the way, the latest game I've covered in Pigskin Frenzy. This is a 40-plus game, like 6 40th-plus game, right, for putting up 40-plus points. Like, this is their 6th game putting up 40-plus points. That's the most since 2004 for Utah, and that is a pretty good stat. They can put up points. That offense is good, and it hums. It's good. Jason Beck's doing a heck of a job controlling the offense there. And Kyle Whittingham is getting everything on track with Devin Dampier, with Wayshawn Parker in the backfield, and Utah is trucking along. Utah coming up has a bye week. So they don't play anybody until next week. They play Baylor next week. Utah at Baylor, 7 Eastern, 6 Central next Saturday as they rest this week. It was 45-14 was the final score. Let's go to Cincinnati really quick, and then we'll move on to the other 3 games that I got wrong. Cincinnati was going back and forth with Utah at first. I think in the second half, Utah just ran away with it. But at first, they were dialing up some good things. Brendan Sorsby, and I will say this, I still think that Brendan Sorsby is the most underrated quarterback in college football right now. Still, even though they just got beat 45-14, I still think he is. I like how he plays. I like the decisions that he's making. Besides, some of the decisions, with the turnovers, but I really do like how he throws the ball. I like his arm. I like his accuracy. I do like how Brendan Sorsby plays. I really do. I think he's a good quarterback, and I think that Cincinnati's got a good one with Sorsby. So, with that being said, Brendan Sorsby had 1 touchdown, 221 yards, 11 for 33. The stats didn't look good, but he tried in the first half at least. I know it doesn't count, right, throughout the whole game, but he was fighting it first. Walker, 67 yards, 7 carries. Sorsby had a rushing touchdown, 28 yards, 4 receptions. He had a rushing touchdown, so he had 2 total touchdowns in that game. Let me talk to you about a guy named Cyrus Allen for the receiving end. 1 touchdown, 133 yards, 2 receptions. He had 66.5 yards per reception on average due to big chunk plays by Cincinnati. Defensively, they just couldn't do anything against that Utah offense. So, Cincinnati, overall, positive and negative circle moments. Let's talk about their positives. 427 total yards on offense. That shows you how good Utah is because they put up 427 yards and Utah still won 45-14. That shows you how good Utah is. Now, 427 total yards rushing, 221 yards passing, 206 yards rushing. Now, here's the positive circle moment. Right here. Positive circle moment there, 206 rushing yards. And I say that because Utah couldn't stop Cincinnati's ground game. They really couldn't. I said that. I said that on X. I was like, look, Utah is running the rock, and I think Cincinnati's going to have trouble against this rushing offense. But now the flip side of that is that Utah's defense is having a tough time at first containing that ground game for Cincinnati's ground game. And they did. 206 yards. And then the one stat that they beat them on paper in was this, 6.8 yards per play compared to Utah's 5.7 yards per play. They did have big chunk plays, but they didn't stay on the field. Scott Satterfield, they did not stay on the field, sir. The time of possession is what really killed them in this ball game, including the rushing. But, yeah, man, I'm just going to say this. That is a big key to that game, was the 19 minutes and 58 seconds. Negative was the time of possession. The negative also was the penalties and the turnovers. 8 penalties for 60 yards and 3 turnovers. 2 fumbles, 1 interception. I think those 3 things were the ingredients of the recipe, right, of a loss. But Cincinnati's going to get back in it. Look, they're 7-2. They're 5-1 in conference play, 7-2. They're not totally out of it. So if Utah, they have 2 Big 12 losses. If Cincinnati wins out and Utah loses another game, Cincinnati comes right back into the fold. Texas Tech has a Big 12 loss. If they have two losses, and Cincinnati just wins out, it could be BYU Cincinnati in the Big 12. And then Cincinnati is right back into the CFP hunt along the Big 12 title game contention hunt and everything. So Cincinnati is not out of it. They got to win out. They just need help from others. That's really the biggest thing that I could say about Cincinnati coming up. So Cincinnati has a bye week. They play Arizona next Saturday at noon Eastern, 11 a.m. Central. They have Arizona, BYU, TCU. They need to win out, and especially a tough game against BYU. Luckily, they have Arizona and BYU at home. Then they got to go play TCU Thanksgiving weekend, last weekend of the regular season. So we'll see what happens with that. But I'm going to tell you what, man. Those are some good. Cincinnati's got a shot, but I don't know, man. I don't know if Utah's going to lose out. I think Utah looks really, really good. Final score of this game was 45-14. Utah gets the win. I just figured that Utah was going to end up winning this ball game, especially with the ground and the time of possession. Cincinnati got to get better at that and staying on the field and eating some clock up. But I'm going to say this, man. Cincinnati, they have a shot. They do. Don't give up on Cincinnati yet, and don't write Cincinnati off. I'm just going to warn you now. Don't write Cincinnati off just yet. 45-14, final score, Utah defeats Cincinnati. Both are on bye weeks this weekend. Let's go to the games that I got wrong, right? I mean, why not? All right, let's go to the 3 that I got wrong. Let's go down to the group of 5, and let's talk about Navy at North Texas. Man, another group of 5 game. Don't say that G5 Joel doesn't exist, because G5 Joel does exist, and he's alive and well. I've been covering 2 group of 5 games in the past weekend. I will cover a group of 5 team this weekend, but it's not really an all-out group of 5 game. I'm just covering a group of 5 team this weekend that's playing against, well, I wouldn't say a power 4 opponent. I mean, you can count him as a power 4 opponent, I guess, independent. But you know what I mean. It's a hint. You already know. Let's talk about Navy and North Texas. I picked Navy to win the game. I thought North Texas's ground game was going to be pretty rough against this Navy offense. 118th coming into this game in rushing defense. And boy, did they make me eat my words. Eric Morris and the Mean Green made me eat my words. Final score was 31-17 North Texas. 31-17 North Texas. North Texas is 8-1. Navy is 7-1. North Texas needs help. They do. I think South Florida needs to lose. And then they will slide in to play Memphis in that American Conference Championship. Right now, Memphis is the highest rated group of 5 team there, and they are looking like they are in the projected field going to the college football playoff and winning the American Conference Championship. Tulane and John Summerall, they lost to Texas San Antonio, which kind of hurt them a little bit. South Florida's just got to win out. But I think North Texas is rooting for the downfall of South Florida, because if South Florida can lose to like Navy in a few weeks and North Texas gets in, the group of 5 is madness. This is why I've been talking about the group of 5 a little bit and covering it the past couple of weeks, because it's been just madness. And it has been. And it's not really just about, the conferences, and that's important. It's mainly about who is going to represent the G5 in the playoff. Is it going to be Memphis? Is it going to be North Texas? Is it going to be South Florida? Is it going to be no one from the American Conference? Is it going to be James Madison from the Sun Belt? Because that is an honorable mention on my Frenzy rankings as well, because James Madison is playing some good football. The only loss they've had this season was against Louisville. Now, North Texas played really good football. Drew Mestemaker, let's go to their positive circle moments. Drew Mestemaker is a menace. 234 yards, 19 for 24. He's a redshirt true freshman. Caleb Hawkins is a freshman running back, but he didn't play like it because he bulldozed and bullied the Navy defense. 197 yards and 4 touchdowns with 33 carries. They could not stop Caleb Hawkins all game. 6 yards per rush on average. He averaged 6 yards per rush. That's a first down. Then when second down rolls around, it's another first down. So they barely got the third down with Caleb Hawkins running the rock. North Texas, they couldn't stop them. They couldn't stop them on offense. North Texas is the top 5 offense in not just in the American Conference and in college football. In college football, the Mean Green and Eric Morris are serious. I can see why now Eric Morris is being considered for some of these head coaching vacancies, because of the way he coaches and the way this Mean Green team runs. And they look good on offense. Defensively, they did have a little bit of struggles, especially running the football, because I think Navy did run the ball well on them. But they begged Navy. They were saying, Navy, bring it. We want you to get into a shootout with us, because they know they're going to win a shootout. And they drug them into a shootout, drug them into those deep waters, and North Texas capitalized on that. Running the ball and passing the ball. Positive circle moments, 424 total yards. Passing yards, 234 total yards. Domination on that. 190 yards, total rushing yards, 197 rushing yards total for Caleb Hawkins. Yards per play, 6.1 yards. I think the positives come in with 424 total yards offense and 234 yards passing. They were 7 for 13 on third down, which is not amazing, but it's not bad. It's good. It's efficient enough to keep these games going. They play clean football, barely any penalties. There's not really a lot of negatives to say besides the 2 sacks, honestly. They no turnovers. They played very clean ball, penalty and disciplined ball, and they look good. They look good running the rock, and they look good moving the ball on offense. And that's just really all it is to it. North Texas is a threat in the American Conference. Now, can they get in it? They can get in it. They need help. North Texas's schedule looks like this, and we can break it down right now. They don't have anybody this week. Everybody that I'm talking about is on bye. Who's playing on November 8th, guys? UAB, watch out, because Memphis played UAB, and Memphis, that's the only loss of the season, was an interim head coach in Alex Mortensen team in UAB. So watch out for that game. At UAB, 2 Eastern, 1 Central. North Texas at Rice, and then Temple. North Texas should win all 3 of those games. They're 8-1. They should be 11-1 after Temple. 11-1. Now, that's going to avoid them getting in if South Florida wins out. Because if South Florida wins out, they get in over North Texas. Why? Does anybody remember what happened Friday, October 10th, 63-36, when South Florida played North Texas in Denton, Texas? Does anybody remember that? Because I'm going to tell you what, I do. And it was a showdown. I didn't cover it, but I watched it, and I saw it, and I was tweeting about it, and I was thinking, okay, South Florida looks legit. And they beat them. If South Florida wins out, they're in. They have, coming up on Thursday, South Florida, UTSA, Navy, UAB, and then Rice. That's the rest of their schedule. They win out, they are in, and they are rematching Memphis if Memphis wins out. Now, however, if Memphis loses, that's another possibility. Then North Texas gets in and plays South Florida in a rematch. What I'm saying is North Texas has to win. Memphis has to lose, right? And Memphis has to lose. And then or South Florida has to lose. Now, for Navy's case, what if South Florida and Memphis loses and Navy wins out? Then Navy's back in it. So it's one of those scenarios where it's like, okay, mind blown. So Memphis could have to lose another game. South Florida may have to lose another game, and then North Texas and Navy win out, and then they're in. The American Conference Championship winner goes into the playoffs. So Navy's not completely out of it. But Navy has that game with Army after it's all said and done. So what are we doing? You know what I mean? So it's like, what are we doing here? I don't know. I got into a whole rant here. North Texas is a good football team. Caleb Hawkins is a beast. They're on bye this week. Final score of this game was 31-17. I got to talk about Navy so we can move on. But let me go on and tell you something. North Texas is a good football team, and they could get in very easily. But let's keep an eye on that group of 5 because it is entertaining to see who's going to represent the G5 in the college ball playoff, especially when all this is happening in November. And it feels like there's so little time, but yet again, a lot happens in that this little crunch time, right? That's just what college football is. Let's talk about Navy, man. Navy 17-31. I said they needed to run the football, and they did. 311 rushing yards, and they still lost. 311 yards on the ground, and they still lost. And I'll tell you why they lost. 80 passing yards, negative circle moment. They had 391 yards, positive circle moment. 6.7 yards per play, positive circle moment. Let's go. And time of possession was a positive circle moment, too. 32 minutes, 13 seconds. Blake Horvath is an absolute menace. He ran the ball well. 112 yards, 19 carries, 1 touchdown. Chapman had 67 yards, 6 carries, 1 touchdown, 11.2 yards per rush. Heidenreich had 57 yards, 8 carries. And let me tell you what happened that cost them this. 2 things to me. Number 1, these are the negative circle moments for Navy. Okay, let's just do that again. The negative circle moments for Navy. They were not consistent running the football because they tried to do a little bit too much with passing. And number 2, when they did pass the ball or ran, a little bit, or kind of got a little bit consistent, they turned the ball over. 2 interceptions, 1 fumble, 3 turnovers for Navy. and they had 8 penalties for 55 yards. So they beat themselves up in a lot of ways. I think if they would have just ran it down their throats majority of the time, North Texas wasn't going to stop it, and that's how you do a shootout with the Mean Green. That's how you do a shootout with them. You run the football. Because if they are 118th in rushing defense, you need to run the football. That is a flash telling you right there. If they can't stop the run, and Navy is a running team, the number one rushing team in the conference, or not in the conference, in the sport, I believe, you run the ball. It's all signs pointing to that. But then they tried to do a little bit of passes and all that, and Horvath picked it off twice, and then there was a fumble and 8 penalties for 55 yards. So they kind of shot themselves in the foot in a lot of ways. This hurt Navy a little bit. I'm not going to lie. However, there's still time left. They just have to win the rest of their conference games. And then they need a little bit of help from a Memphis. Right? A Memphis. They need a little bit of help from a South Florida, maybe even in North Texas a couple of times, maybe. They need some help from those 3 teams if they want to for sure get in. Saturday, they play Notre Dame. That's going to be a tough game, but that's not going to count toward their overall American Conference record. To get into the American Conference and to probably, potentially, try to vie for a playoff spot, I mean, that's not going to, hurt a lot, if that makes sense. It's not going to, I mean, I don't know. I think the playoff chances may hurt Notre Dame. If they lose to Notre Dame, the playoff shot will go down the drain maybe for Navy, but sure. But if we're talking about American Conference Championship, just strictly American Conference Championship, that's not going to affect anything if the other teams lose ahead of them. So we'll see what happens Saturday, but I think Navy shot themselves in the foot in this game. I think they could have ran the ball a lot more consistently at a consistent rate, and Navy probably would have, it could have gone, I don't know, I'm going to say it could have gone the other way. Who knows if it would have went the other way or not. It could have been. We won't know. It's all horseshit. It should have, would have, could have at this point. But I think Navy running the ball could have been more beneficial for them if they would have done it at a consistent rate. 31-17 is the final score. North Texas is on bye. Navy has Notre Dame. And we're covering that game this weekend. Navy at Notre Dame, 7:30 Eastern, 6:30 Central on NBC and Peacock. This Saturday night, we are covering that game. That's the last game we're covering this coming up this past weekend. So we got some interesting Week 11 games for y'all. Some interesting Week 11 games for y'all on this one. You're going to be surprised at the slate. And I'm going to put another little note out there at the end as well. So final score, 31-17. In this one. Who is going to represent the G5 in the playoff? We don't know. It could be James Madison for the Sun Belt. Maybe everything that we're talking about with the American Conference may not matter. Last year it came from the Mountain West. It's looking like it's going to come from the American Conference this year, but it could come from the Sun Belt. James Madison looks good. I don't know. Yeah, it blows your mind a little bit. Vanderbilt and Texas. I picked Vanderbilt to win this game. I thought it was going to be a little bit of a lower scoring game, right? And then all of a sudden, Arch Manning comes back from concussion protocol and everything's different. And what I mean by different, he's saying expletives to the camera. We're back in the crib is what he said. And they were back at Austin. They were back home, and first play of the game was I believe a 75-yard touchdown to Ryan Wingo. And they were already up 7-0 in the ball game. First play of the game. Sark and Texas were dialed in. Now, in the second half, Vandy and Pavia came back and outscored Texas 21-0. And then the onside kick happened. Pavia played his heart out, played a really good ball game. Onside kick happened. Texas recovered, and Texas won the game and survived the ball game at the very end. Final score of this game was 34 Texas, Vanderbilt 31. Very close game, a very entertaining game. I'm glad I covered it. I got it wrong. Texas won the game, but Vanderbilt gave it all they had. Texas looked like a totally different team, and they kind of looked like the team that we were all talking about during the preseason. Number 1 ranked team in the country. They're back in the top 15 now. They were they jumped big after this win. They're back in the top 15 now, just right outside the CFP top 12, just right outside Texas is. So Texas can still get in if they win out and try to go to the SEC championship. Maybe it's all in play still, but they look good in this game. Arch Manning looked good as well. So, I mean, everyone's going to say, really? Yeah, he did. I mean, 3 touchdowns, 328 yards, 25 for 33. Ever since the Red River shootout and ever since the concussion and all that, Arch Manning's been on a whole different level. Maybe that article just motivated him from The Athletic. Shout out to The Athletic for motivating Arch Manning to play just a lot better. He's not a flop, apparently. He's Arch Manning, and he is getting better and better and better, like I said and like everybody else has said. Wisner, 75 yards, a touchdown, 18 carries. Baxter, 22 yards, 7 carries, 3.1 yards on the ground on average. Wingo had 89 yards and a touchdown, 2 receptions. Mosley, the fifth, had 69 yards, 7 receptions, and a touchdown. Let me go on and tell you something, man. Baxter had a reception touchdown as well for 6 yards. Texas looked good offensively, and they look good defensively as well. I mean, I believe. I think they look good as well. I mean, I think they look good. Simmons had a sack. He had 5 total tackles in this game as well. Simmons was all over Pavia in this ball game, and they look good defensively. I think defensively they had the answer to what Tim Beck and Pavia and Clark Lee were drawing up on offense. They really did in this ball game. They looked physical up front, and they played like Texas football, how I pictured Texas football during the spring and during the preseason. Positive circle moments was the physicality on defense, was Arch Manning, 428 total yards on offense, just 5 yards more than what Vandy got. 328 passing yards. They had 100 rushing yards compared to Vandy's 58, which is solid. Holding Vandy to only 58 rushing yards because Vandy can run the football. Holding Vanderbilt only to 58 rushing yards total. That's a positive for Texas's defense. Good on Texas and Sark for doing that. And 7.1 yards per play. Really good positive circle moment for Texas as well there. 7 for 11 on third down. Really, that's solid there. And then they played clean football. Didn't turn the ball over. I mean, only a minute differential in time of possession. That really didn't matter. But those are some good things that Texas has done. The only negative circle moment that Texas had was 9 penalties for 70 yards. 9 penalties for 70 yards in this game. That's pretty rough. So I will say this. Maybe, just maybe, kind of cool it on the penalties because that could hurt you in the long run, especially throughout the rest of the year. Texas is not out of it. They're not. They're not out of this game. They're not out of it. If you want to just get real. I don't think so. I'm putting my headphone cord everywhere, but they are not out of it. Let's look at their schedule. Coming up, again, another team on bye. I mean, right, another team on bye, ladies and gentlemen. Another team on bye. Who is playing on the 8th? Is anybody just, do we want to take an off week in November 8th? Or every team's on bye that I've named. Texas at Georgia is next Saturday. Texas has to go to Georgia next Saturday. Crucial game. In Athens, that is a kryptonite game for them because they have not beaten Georgia. Georgia has to play State Saturday. Texas does not have to play anybody. They're on bye, so that's a good thing for them, but they haven't really beaten Georgia much. That's really their kryptonite, man, is Georgia. Can they beat Georgia? Last few times they played, Georgia's been... Georgia won, right? So we'll see what happens. But then they got to play Arkansas at home. Then they got to play Texas A&M at home. That's a tough one. That's a tough gauntlet a little bit. Now, Arkansas, it's a rivalry game. That will probably go either way. A&M, another rivalry game, and A&M's a good football team. Top 3 football team in college football. So that could go either way. That's probably game day, in my opinion. I mean, I believe. 7:30 Eastern. No, it's on Black Friday. How is that game on Black Friday? I don't know. I don't know, but that's a Black Friday game. That one's going to be tough. Very tough to pick, but we'll see what happens. A&M at Texas. Georgia is next. That's a gauntlet. Let's see if Texas can get in, because if Texas wins out, they're in. They're in the SEC. They got to be in the SEC championship, right? They have to be. I believe they would have to be in. That's just my take on it. I don't know. I may be wrong. I don't know. I think Texas would be in, but that's just my thoughts. But we'll see what happens next week. They got a huge game against Georgia. We'll see what happens in Athens. So final score of this game was 34-31. Texas is still in it. They're not out of it yet. So let's just pump the brakes on Texas right now. Just pump the brakes. Don't say that they're out. I'm not going to sit there and say that they're totally in, but don't write them off. Just like Cincinnati, don't write them off. 34-31 was the final score. Let's talk about Vanderbilt a little bit because Diego Pavia and that offense played with some heart at the very end of the game. Pavia was a positive circle moment as well. I mean, look, 14 carries, 43 yards, 1 rushing touchdown on the ground. He had 3 passing touchdowns, 365 yards passing, and 27 for 38. Passing. Pavia was an absolute animal in the second half, especially in the fourth quarter. He was making some big-time throws to get them to go down the field and win this ball game. He is a true player, and he played really good in this game. He really did. He kind of bounced back from that performance against Missouri because I don't think he played that well against Missouri. He played really good in this game. And I think he did good. Eli Stowers, don't leave him open. 2 touchdowns, 146 yards, and 7 receptions, 20.9 yards per reception. Positive circle moment. Sherrill had 83 yards, 5 receptions. Hoskins had 55 yards, a touchdown, and 5 receptions. Those guys are just solid on offense. Tim Beck is doing a great job. Positive circle moment for Vandy at the very end of the game. At first was kind of, but I think the defense played well enough to get a couple of stops and get the ball back as well. So, I mean, those are some positives for Vandy as well. Let's go with some more positives and negatives for Vanderbilt. 365 passing yards compared to their 328. They had 25 first downs. They were 7 for 13 on third down. They were efficient on third down. 100% perfect on fourth down. I think the time of possession was okay, but it didn't really affect the outcome of the ball game. But those are some positives for them. I think the negatives is where they got hurt a little bit, and this is where the negatives come in for Vanderbilt. 8 penalties for 70 yards. That's not really all that good. 58 rushing yards. They couldn't really run the ball as effective as they wanted to. It kind of made Vanderbilt a tiny bit one-dimensional, tiny bit, not too much. They were, especially in the first half. I will say the second half and in the fourth quarter, they lit it up, but I'll say that Vanderbilt first half, they really look kind of one-dimensional. And then here's a key stat. 6 sacks allowed compared to Texas's 0 sacks. The line of scrimmage battle was won by Texas. Texas manhandled them up front in the trenches, and Vanderbilt just got out-physicaled. And I think that was a key negative circle moment for Vanderbilt in this game because Vandy was kind of bullying a lot of teams in the trenches this year, but they didn't do it to this team, especially in Austin. They didn't do it to this team. And I think that was a key there. 6 sacks allowed. Pavia got sacked 6 times. So that's a key stat there. Where do they go from here? Where does Vandy go from here? They are not completely out of it. Did it make the playoff hopes a little bit bleak? Maybe. Just maybe. But they're not completely out of it. They're not. And the thing is, everyone's gonna sit there and go, "Oh man, they're what are you talking about, man?" I don't think they're out of it. I think there's got a lot that's gonna happen. I mean, they have 2 losses, and now I'm gonna sit here and say this: they're not completely out of the CFP hunt. Let me rephrase that. They're not completely out of the CFP hunt for one of those at-large spots. They're not completely out of it yet. They lost to Bama, they lost to Texas, but I'm going to say this. If they win out, they should be in one of those CFP spots and in that at-large spots. Maybe. They have Auburn Saturday at 4 Eastern, 3 Central. They have Kentucky, and they have Tennessee. So their last 2 home games are against Auburn and Kentucky, and then they play at Tennessee. Tennessee's already out. Can Tennessee ruin Vandy's spoil Vandy's, thing? Can they play spoiler to Vandy pretty much? That's the only thing. They got to win out, and they got to go into Neyland and do it. So that's where the destiny is. Go to Neyland and win. So beat Auburn, beat Kentucky, and then go into Neyland. Your fate lies in those 3 games. And then most likely, if they do win out those games, I think they'll be favored in both games. Their destiny lies in Neyland. So we'll see what happens. I mean, we'll see what happens. We're not completely out of the CFP race yet, but it's a little bit bleak for Vanderbilt here. So let's just see what happens. Final score. And by the way, keep an eye on that Auburn game because what we're going to talk about in a minute may affect a lot in this ball game. A lot. Final score was 34-31. Texas defeats Vanderbilt. And, well, Texas looks good. Let's not hold any, let's not just, pump the brakes. Not saying don't get overreactive, but don't underreact either. Vandy, they're not out of it yet. They just got to win out. Keep an eye on that Auburn game on Saturday. That's all I got to say. Last but not least, in our recap, before we move on to our coaching carousel talk and our frenzy playoff rankings talk, let's talk about Oklahoma and Tennessee. Oklahoma at Tennessee. Whew. Yeah, man. Going 1-3 is hard. Let me just put it that way. Going 1-3 is very hard. It's hard to muster up some of the words. I picked Tennessee to win. I thought this was a good, kind of a bad spot for Oklahoma. But what do we know about college football anymore, I guess, right? Don't listen to me. If I say Tennessee's going to win, you better pick Oklahoma. I said that Oklahoma has let me down twice when I picked them, and they've lost both times. Yes, and then when I pick against Oklahoma, how about that? They end up winning in Neyland, right? Final score, 33-27. Oklahoma defeats Tennessee. And it's literally just pick the opposite, honestly. It's like if I say heads, you better pick tails, and it's going to land on tails, right? So, I don't know, man. I don't know, man. Oklahoma defeats Tennessee. That's all I got to say. Oklahoma defeats Tennessee, 33-27. Let's talk about Oklahoma on offense. 159 yards, 19 for 29, and one pick for John Mateer. Xavier Robinson had 115 yards, 16 carries, one touchdown on the ground, and Mateer had 80 yards, a touchdown, and 16 carries on the ground. So, running the ball, they ran the ball really well, actually. 192 yards, probably the best they've ran all season. And I think, at least, one of the best they've ran all season. They needed to run the football and figure out a way to run the football. I said that was a big key for them in this ball game, and they utilized that key well, and Tennessee couldn't really stop them running the football. Santega had 68 yards, 6 receptions. Burks has 45 yards, 6 receptions. And the defense stepped up in big ways as well for this against this Tennessee offense. Oklahoma's defense played really well in Neyland against this Tennessee offense, against this Josh Heupel offense, which is pretty solid. That's pretty good for Oklahoma's defense. Brent Venables was a savage in this game, got them really pumped up. It was kind of a do-or-die, loser-leaves-town game for both teams, and Oklahoma's defense and the whole team just rallied around and stepped up and embraced the challenge of going into Neyland. And in the dark mode game of all games, the dark mode game, the Halloween weekend dark mode game, to kind of put an end to Tennessee's playoff hopes in this game. We're going to get to Tennessee here in a little bit. Let's talk about the positive circle moments for Oklahoma. I mean, obviously, 192 rushing yards compared to Tennessee's 63. That's rough for Tennessee. We're going to talk about that in a little bit, but 192 rushing yards, played really good on the ground. 351 total yards of offense, 159 passing yards, but 351 total yards of offense. Not bad. Now, they started off very slow on offense, but they kind of picked it up in the second half, so not bad later in the game for OU. 4 for 10 on third down. That's a negative. I'm going to count that as a negative circle moment, and not really the best. So those are some of the positive circle moments, but let's go to the negatives really quick. 4 for 10 on third down, 2 turnovers and 11 penalties for 104 yards. 11 penalties for 104 yards. Very undisciplined. Very surprised you won the ball game that way. And I will say it's only because of what Tennessee did. But that's a huge game killer if I've ever seen one. 104 yards, 11 penalties. That's a lot, man. A lot. 2 turnovers as well. So if Tennessee just played clean ball, undisciplined, or played disciplined ball, no turnovers, I would say OU probably would have lost that ball game. But Tennessee did not. And Oklahoma capitalized on that. I think Oklahoma is okay. They played an okay game. I think there's a lot of room to improvement for the Sooners. I really do. And coming up, once again, they have a bye week. Does everybody have a bye week in November 8th? Did someone check who has, every game I keep saying, they have a bye week. OU has a bye week. They play next Saturday, 3:30 Eastern, 2:30 Central, against Alabama. So they got to go to Alabama. And after their bye week coming up this weekend, they got to go to Alabama. Going to be a tough game. Tough game. Bama's playing LSU this weekend, coming off of a tough game either way. So Oklahoma has got to find a way to keep it going. They got to win out. Oklahoma has to play Bama, Missouri, and LSU. So last road game is against Bama. Then they got to play Mizzou at home at noon Eastern, 11 a.m. Central on the 22nd. And then Thanksgiving weekend, they play LSU at home. So if they win out all three, they should be in the college football playoff. Should be. They're in still if they win out. Now, it's going to be very tricky. That's a very tough 3-game schedule. So we'll see what happens. But if they play like that, I'm not seeing it. If they play like that, they got to get better in certain areas in order to be in. Just keeping it real. They have to play a little bit better. And I saw a lot of good from OU. Mateer looked a little bit, slowly but surely, looked like the Mateer before the hand injury, which was good. But you need to get a little bit better overall with the penalties, with the turnovers, with protecting Mateer, everything. Running the ball even more, being a little bit more consistent in those regards in order to win and go to the college football playoff and win out. That's just about what I'm thinking. But final score was 33-27. Oklahoma has a bye week before they play Alabama. Tennessee. Let's talk about Tennessee a little bit before we talk about the coaching carousel and Frenzy playoff rankings. So let's talk about Tennessee and let's go into this. Tennessee. And I'm going to get into a couple of things. I think this is kind of bad. And I'm going to have the record behind it to prove it. Tennessee started off really hot in this game, and they kind of faded over time. Total yards, 456 yards, 393 passing yards, 5.7 yards per play, 7 for 13. It was really good on third down. And then you're thinking 3 penalties for 25 yards. Well, Joel, on paper, they look like they've won the ball game. Yeah. Except for the fact they had 3 costly turnovers, and they only had 63 yards running the football. So they were pretty one-dimensional on offense the whole time, and the defense really couldn't stop OU in a lot of key areas. So, yeah, and I think that's where Tennessee lost. I think Tennessee lost in a lot of key areas with, they were one-dimensional on offense a little bit. They had 3 crucial turnovers, and the defense didn't get enough stops when needed. And I think the defense kind of got gashed a little bit, especially on the ground. And I think that's what happened. Those are the positive and negative circle moments for Tennessee in this ball game. Look, and those were the negative and positive circle moments. I kind of wrapped it up all into one thing. Joey Aguilar played his heart out. It's 393 yards, 3 touchdowns, 29 for 45 passing. And then Matthews had a touchdown. Brandon Staley had 2 touchdowns, 75 yards. Chris Brazel had 68 yards, 6 receptions. Aguilar did his best, right? He tried. It's just the turnovers, 4 sacks. They didn't protect him well. They got beat up front, and then they were one-dimensional on offense. The turnovers happened, and then, like I said, just defensively they couldn't really stop OU on the ground, especially later in the ball game. So I mentioned all the positive and negative circle moments. So here's my honest thoughts about Tennessee overall. So that's my recap of Tennessee in this ball game. They were starting off hot, and they just kind of fizzled out, and they lost the game, and OU got back into the game, and then they let OU have it pretty much. I think that's how I can recap this Oklahoma-Tennessee game. Loser leaves town, and Tennessee's going to stay home. They've left the CFP contention. They are eliminated from CFP contention. Now, in my opinion, I don't think Tennessee, and I really didn't see Tennessee being a playoff team this season. I said that back in June, July of the season. I really didn't see Tennessee as a playoff team. I saw them as a team where they could do okay, right? I just didn't see them as a full-on playoff team. I thought they were a little bit overrated. I said that, and that's fine because they were rebuilding in a lot of areas. I did not see them and I view them as a college football playoff participant. I said that a few weeks back. And it's going, and I was right. I was right. Now, here's the kicker also. A lot of people, and I've been hearing a lot of this on X too, because I'm going to give my comments on it and address it. A lot about, is Josh Heupel the dude for Tennessee and all this stuff. Dude, don't even start that talk. Because if you get rid of Heupel, what are y'all going to do? Y'all are going to get a lot worse without Heupel. Y'all need Josh Heupel. Josh Heupel has been winning games for you guys, led y'all to a CFP appearance last year, had an Orange Bowl win in 2022. Yes, in 2023, they didn't look all that great. Maybe they were in a little bit of a rebuilding phase. Last year, they got back to the CFP. This year, statistically, they were the number one offense in the sport and in the SEC. At some point, they were a top 5 offense. So, I mean, Josh Heupel's continuously producing top 5 offenses for this team each and every season and bringing them into contention each and every season. Besides this season, there's a couple of seasons where he didn't do that, 2023 and now this year. 2022, they were in it up until the very end, and they went to the Orange Bowl, and they won the Orange Bowl against Clemson. And then we had, excuse me, and then we obviously had last year, we had, this year, number one offense. So last year, they made the playoffs. This year, I didn't think they were going to make the playoffs, but they were consistently a top 5 offense. His record speaks for itself at Tennessee. I mean, let's look at his record, honestly. And I do want to look at his record. I want everybody to know what people would miss out on at Tennessee. His head coaching record at Tennessee is 43-18. Now, a lot of people are going to say, dude, what is that? No, it's pretty good. He's 71-26 total. His conference record is 23-15. Ever since being at Tennessee in 2021, his first season, 7-6, 11-2 in 2022, and his second season going from 7-6 to 11-2 in 2022, huge. 9-4, 10-3, and now 6-3. How is that rough? Oh, we need to do better. Okay, maybe you get somebody that maybe a tiny bit better. Maybe, but maybe you don't. Josh Heupel is far on the hot seat, and I mean far, 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 far on the hot seat, and he shouldn't be. And for the people in the fan base who are saying, "Oh, let's just do Heupel needs to make do something needs to be changed," maybe it needs to be Heupel, all that stuff, dude. Just be quiet. I'm going to give you what I got. This is what I was told back in when I was walking a straight line back in, I think, first grade, maybe the third grade, around there. It was called hips and lips, where we put our hand on our hips and we put our finger on our lips. It means to be quiet and don't say nothing. And that is what I'm giving you guys, these Tennessee fans. Hips and lips, dog. Hips and lips. Don't say anything. If you want change, maybe on the defensive side of the ball, maybe, but Heupel, far from it. Far from it. He shouldn't go anywhere until somebody calls after him. Until another job calls for him and gives him an offer he couldn't refuse. You're not going to get rid of Josh Heupel or fire Josh Heupel. That's ridiculous. It's crazy talk because you missed a playoff. Look, newsflash. You're going to try to compete every year for a playoff spot, and there's some years where you don't get in. That's life, dude. That's just how it's going to be. I feel like a lot of people need to know that they're doing their best out there, and Josh Heupel's doing his best out there. So don't sit and he's also producing great recruiting classes as well. He's doing really good for the program. So let's not just sit and say, okay, okay, we need to get rid of Heupel. That's just crazy talk. All of that is crazy talk. I just don't like hearing that because it's so. What are you basing everything off of? He's winning, and he's producing dang near double-digit 9 to 10 wins each season. Went to the playoffs last year, got you an Orange Bowl. what are we doing? I mean, really, what are we doing? That's all I got to say. What are we doing here? So enough with the, okay, let's get rid of Heupel and all. I mean, we make some changes around Heupel. Enough of that. If there's changes to be made, Heupel ain't one of them. I can tell you that. He is not one of them. Heupel is the man, and he should stay at Tennessee. Not even in a discussion. Okay. Oklahoma wins 33-27. Dear goodness, I just went off on a whole tangent. How about Josh Heupel? And that was the final score of this game, 33-27. Tennessee's probably out of the playoff. They're in a rebuilding year. I expect Tennessee to probably be back in it next year. Oklahoma, they're kind of in a do-or-die mentality. They just got to play a little bit better in this. So we'll see what happens. That was our Week 10 recap. Let's talk about two more things, and then we'll wrap up. Coaching carousel talk, and this was a job that I expected to come open. Coaching carousel, Auburn. Well. Auburn has fired Hugh Freeze. I'm pretty sure everybody has heard the news on X and Instagram and wherever you get your news. They fired Hugh Freeze. And earlier in the year, off season, I said that I would have given Hugh Freeze one more year if they win 7 to 8, maybe even 8 games, at least 8 to 9 games. If they would have won that, you should give Hugh Freeze another year, at least, right? Be a little bit more patient with him. And then I saw them play on the field, and I was like, oh boy, this is worse than I thought it was going to be. And I saw a little bit of it in the spring and in the fall camp, and I knew that there were some areas about Auburn that was like, didn't look good, right? And I was right, yes, but at the same time, I guess I was right about certain things that didn't look good, but I was also wrong because I didn't think quarterback was going to be one of them, and quarterback was one of them. The quarterback issues, I mean, they played Hugh Freeze the entire tenure, and they have played Auburn the past 3 to 4 years at Auburn. But I'm going to say this, it was pretty rough. I mean, they just could not get the quarterback situation right. I mean, for example, against Kentucky, okay, Ashton Daniels is starting the game. He gets benched, and then Jackson Arnold comes in, and then Jackson Arnold gets benched again after playing another not a good drive. And then Ashton Daniels comes back in, and then they lose 10-3. It's just like it's not good. You know what I mean? And then they had losses that they weren't really supposed to have. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, it was just kind of rough in a lot of areas for Auburn. I said most likely 8 wins would be a year to where, okay, if he wins 8 games, it's a huge improvement for Auburn, and they should give him another year. I saw the product on the field, and I was like, ooh, Hugh Freeze is not really helping my stance here. I was vouching for Hugh Freeze. I am all about second chances, and he did not perform coach to the best of his abilities and to the standards that Auburn has. So they let him go. And the thing was, he kept saying, we're so close. But if you're saying you were so close and it's only getting worse, like you're regressing, you're not close. You're getting farther and farther and farther away. And I just don't think it was going to work out that way, right? So obviously Hugh Freeze is gone, and they need another head coach. They have Vanderbilt Saturday. PJ Durkin is the interim head, or DJ Durkin, excuse me. Why did I say PJ Durkin? I was thinking of PJ Fleck, I guess. DJ Durkin is interim head coach, the defensive coordinator for Auburn. I was thinking of PJ Fleck. DJ Durkin is interim head coach for Auburn, the defensive coordinator as well. Here is my thoughts on that. If I'm Vanderbilt, I'm watching out Saturday. The interim bump can be real. And I'm saying that to not only Vanderbilt, you can say that about Alabama as well with LSU maybe. We'll see about the LSU thing. We'll talk about that one here in a little bit. But Auburn and Vanderbilt, I would watch out for that game. Vanderbilt could win. I am going to favor Vanderbilt, but if DJ Durkin's going to light a fire under that locker room in this game in Nashville, they can go on the road and surprise and put a spoiler to Vanderbilt's hopes. So I would be on alert, because when you get rid of a coach and the interim bump happens, it can change the whole complexion of the team and everything there. They have a spark, right? It only takes one thing to happen and for a spark to happen until a whole fire erupts. And that fire may be in the Auburn football team. So watch out Saturday. Who's a fit at Auburn? That's what we're going to go with this. Obviously, John Summerall. I said John Summerall would be a good fit. I like John Summerall. I think John Summerall is a good coach. I've always been a John Summerall guy. He is, to me, a really good option. I like Kenny Dillingham for this one as well. He was the offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach as well, back on Harson's staff, I believe. I think that he would be he'd be a good fit down at Auburn as well. I like John Summerall. I like Kenny Dillingham. Those are some good options as well. Brent Key could be an option. I named Brent Key a little bit as well, because I think Brent Key, what he's doing at Georgia Tech, he completely turned around that Georgia Tech Yellow Jacket program and got a lot of good recruits in there, and they've been doing really good down there. I think he can do the same with Auburn. And I think that if he goes down to Auburn, Alabama, he can put a staff around him, and they can win some games. He's got a quarterback, and he's developed Haynes King to the best of his ability. He brings Buster Faulkner with him at Auburn. That offense could be dynamic for Auburn once again if he brings Buster Faulkner with him. So just think about that if you're Auburn, having a Buster Faulkner type offense down at Auburn. That would be fun to watch if you're an Auburn fan, I believe. That's just my talk. That's just my thing. That's just my thing. I like Brent Key. I like Buster Faulkner on the offense. I like what they do there. Defensively, yes, there's a little bit of concern defensively on some areas, but I know that, yes, they lost to NC State this past weekend, but give you some just body of work. Just body of work. Just think about it. I think John Summerall is the favorite. I think John Summerall would win overall down there as well. Names. Jimbo Fisher is a name. Maybe Jimbo Fisher does okay at Auburn. Maybe. A lot of people are going to say, no, don't do that. And I am hesitant about it too, but part of me is also like, maybe they do a little bit better than advertised, because Auburn is not Texas A&M. And I'm not trying to sit here and be like, dude, you calm down, all right? Not saying anything bad about Auburn and the program and all that stuff. I like Auburn. I am just saying that if you want to be just realistic, A&M and Auburn a little bit different in space. So I think he could do a really good job maybe at Auburn. Maybe. And then James Franklin obviously is an outside name as well. But John Summerall, in my opinion, is the fit. I think he is the favorite to me to land that job, and he would do really, really well. Let's see if any more jobs open up. But overall, that's my coaching carousel talk on Auburn. Let's see what happens. It's going to be an interesting coaching search. Very interesting. Notice how I didn't say Lane Kiffin, because Lane Kiffin's name's being thrown around anyway. I don't think he is even considered for this job, and I don't think he should be considered for this job. If I'm Lane Kiffin, this is a job I would mark off my list. I think there are other names out there that are going to be good for this job and that are going to be considered for this job. I just don't think Lane Kiffin is one of them. If the choices came down to Ole Miss and Auburn right now, I would stay at Ole Miss, and Auburn needs to go a different route. I just think that I think there's more some things that align for Auburn, like a John Summerall. I think he would fit what Auburn brings. I really do. So those are my fits. Those are my coaching candidates, I guess, for Auburn. Let me know, guys. Let me know what you guys think about it, and talk to me about it on the comments below, and we'll get it going. So Auburn is looking for a new head coach. Those are my fits for the Auburn Tigers. It's going to be interesting to see what plays out, and I will keep up to date on everything for everybody. Last but not least, and we'll wrap up, it's getting dark outside, and it's time for the Frenzy playoff rankings when it's getting dark at 4:30, about to be 5 o'clock. It's getting, pumped and getting everything going when it's week 11, right? And everything's good and happy and everything, everything's, the Frenzy playoff rankings are here when it's getting dark early, yes, but also everything is, getting cool outside, and, you just feel it. And it's that time. It's week 11, and the CFP rankings come out tonight. You know, right? You just know that it's Frenzy playoff rankings time because all the ingredients are in the air for it. So the first set of Frenzy playoff rankings are here, the rankings that matter. And we're going to end it with this. And we're going to post it here on X today. We're going to post it on X, not on Wednesday. We're going to post it on X today, along with the episode and everything. We're going to post the graphic and everything today on X and Instagram. Go and like each page and go and like and follow and subscribe on all social media platforms. It's a little bit different from the AP, obviously, because that's how we do it and by our metrics. So, yes, it's going to be different from the AP. It's probably going to be most likely different from, right, from the college football playoff. But we're going to talk about it. Honorable mentions on our Frenzy playoff rankings. So let's get started and we'll wrap up. Honorable mentions. James Madison's an honorable mention. North Texas is an honorable mention. South Florida's an honorable mention. And Louisville, I'm just joking. Louisville's in there. I was going to say, if you didn't put Louisville in there, you're insane. But, yeah, those are my honorable mentions in this. And I think in this one, Cincinnati is not in this week. They're an honorable mention. They were very close to being in my top 25. Very close. But right now, I just can't put them in there right now. So let's kick it off with 25. 25 on our list for the Frenzy playoff rankings, the first set of Frenzy playoff rankings for Week 11. I'm so excited. The rankings that matter, the power rankings that matter. Number 25, they didn't put them in an AP. Iowa. I said this past week, or this past Thursday with Shahan Jayaraja from CBS Sports. Go and read his stuff and go and follow him. Shout out to him. I said it, me and him both agreed that Iowa's being undervalued. Yeah, they lost to Iowa State. Everybody wrote them off. They have been playing tough football and winning games. They have a huge contest coming up this weekend with Oregon, and we're going to talk about that here in a little bit. They're 6-2 at home against Oregon. They're 25, and if they beat Oregon, a good signature win will shoot them all the way up. And a lot of people are going to be paying attention to what the Iowa Hawkeyes are about to bring. So just watch out for Iowa. They're 25 on my list. I think they're being undervalued. Despite the wins and the playoff resume looking too strong, I think they are playing some decent enough football. They have a schedule coming up. So let's watch out for that, and let's see what happens. I got to go off and play Oregon first, though. 25 is Iowa. 24 is Washington. 2-loss team. They're still playing really good. I think that, yes, they may lose another game, maybe, and I could put them out, but I think Washington's playing some good ball right now. 2-loss team, Washington. 23, Tennessee. Why is Washington behind Tennessee? I think Tennessee would probably beat Washington in a bowl game. And if they do play each other in a bowl game, which I kind of want to see, offensively kind of want to see that, I think Tennessee could probably narrowly beat Washington. Narrowly. I put Tennessee ahead of Washington. I think Tennessee's a little bit better than what we saw Saturday. I don't think they're a CFP contender, but I do think they're a little bit better than what we saw Saturday. 23 is Tennessee. Miami is 22. A lot of people have Miami higher than that. Those two losses kind of put a damper on Miami's playoff hopes. And to me, it did too. Yes, Joel, I did. Yeah, you said, Joel, if they were one of the best teams a few weeks ago. Yes, they were, weren't they? It's amazing what can happen in 3 weeks. It really is. It's amazing what can happen in 3 weeks, right? They go from being in my top 5 all the way to 22 in the Frenzy playoff rankings. I think if they keep playing the way they're playing a little bit, especially with some of those turnovers that Carson Beck's been committing, they could put them out. I think they may already be out, maybe, but we will see. But right now, I think that loss kind of hurt a little bit. 22 is Miami. 21 is Michigan. I think Michigan is humming along. They look good, and I think they are just keeping on humming along. So 21 is Michigan on both sides of the ball. They keep on winning. They keep on finding ways to win. So 2-loss team, man. Watch out for Michigan. Just watch out for Michigan. USC is 20. They keep on humming along. It was kind of an iffy game in Lincoln, Nebraska. They got away with a win. So you got to put them in the rankings. They're a 2-loss team still. They're number 20. It's amazing You might as well. If you're having a down year, I will accept a bid, and I'm going to say this now. I will accept a bid to go to the Las Vegas Bowl because the two teams that were in last year's Las Vegas Bowl were USC, Texas A&M. They both look like they can be in the college football playoff. Maybe. If USC wins out, they most likely will be in one of those at-large spots for the college football playoff. Dude, give me a bid to the Las Vegas Bowl. I'll play in the Las Vegas Bowl because apparently it works and it gets you ready for a playoff run for the next season. So, jokes, guys, jokes. Number 20 is USC. Number 19, huge disclaimer, by the way, with this one. Number 19 is Memphis. Projectedly, if Memphis wins out, they're the highest rated group of 5 team on my list. If Memphis wins out, they will be, and I will put them in my bracket for the college football playoff. I'm just going by ratings. I'm going by power rankings, really, with this. Frenzy playoff power rankings. I may change the name. I don't know, but Frenzy playoff rankings. Number 19 is Memphis. They look good on both sides of the ball. They've really bounced back from the UAB loss. They're the highest rated group of 5 team, and they deserve to be 19 on my list. They deserve to be a little bit higher than where the AP or maybe even where the playoff committee is going to put them. I think they're in. If they win out, they're in. So that's that one. Number 18 is Missouri. Missouri. Yes, Matt Zollers is probably going to be their starting quarterback Saturday. Yes, will a loss push them back on my list? Yes, but I think as of now, they're a 2-loss team. Let's give Missouri a little bit of credit. They're looking like they can run on the table a little bit more. Let's see what happens against Texas A&M. They rested up. They had a bye week. Let's see how they play against Texas A&M. But right now, Missouri, to me, is number 18 on my list. They haven't played. I'm still a little bit higher on Missouri than most, even though they lost to Vanderbilt, even though they lost to Alabama. I'm still a little bit higher on Missouri than most. Georgia Tech is 17. They just lost to NC State. What are you doing? They're still 8-1. And I think that they are still going to be in the ACC championship game. I still think they most likely could win the ACC title game and go to the CFP. So number 17 is Georgia Tech. 16 is Vanderbilt. Why do you have a 2-loss rated team against Vanderbilt? I think that Vanderbilt still got a shot. I didn't think they played bad Saturday. Besides in the first half, they didn't play all that great in the first half, but they played good, especially in the second half. I still think they're good. I think right now, if Georgia Tech and Vanderbilt played, Vanderbilt would give Georgia Tech a run for their money, and I think that could be a sequel to the Birmingham Bowl we saw last year. Not in a beatdown way, because that was a blowout, but it'll be a lot closer, but Vanderbilt could bring the fight and potentially win that game. So we'll see. 16 is Vanderbilt. 15 is Utah. I think Utah is a really good team. I value them. If they run the table, they will be in my opinion. And not only be in, they'll be in the Big 12 title game. So 15 is Utah. Utah is what I thought they were going to be last year until all the injuries started happening and all that stuff. Utah is what I thought they were going to be last year. So Utah is this year what I thought they were going to be last year. 15 is Utah. 14 is Texas. They are right back in the hunt. Keep an eye on them. They play Georgia next week. I put them at 14th, even though they are on bye. 13 is Oklahoma. They've had a strong bounce back win against Tennessee. I put them at 13 because yes, even though they are kind of and they did lose to Texas, they still only have 2 losses, even though Texas has 2 losses. I think OU right now, by the way they play, have a chance to win out, and they have a shot at making the playoff as well. I probably should have switched those around and put 13 Texas, 14 OU. Notre Dame's 12. Notre Dame keeps going and running the table, they will most likely be in as well. Everyone's going to be in my opinion. But if Notre Dame runs the table, it's going to be kind of hard. I mean, that's the debate. A 2-loss team can miss the playoff. If Miami keeps losing, it's going to hurt Notre Dame's chances even more. So Miami's kind of hurting Notre Dame a little bit more now. That's 12. Number 11 is Louisville. Louisville is a good team. They are still in the hunt. They're still in an ACC title hunt. 11 is Louisville. Jeff Brom's doing an amazing job this season with his Louisville Cardinal team. Miller Moss is now starting to shine a little bit more, and they are starting to be a team that I think, hey, what I said back in July during the ACC Media Day recaps, Miller Moss is looking like he's fitting in well now with the Cardinals. Number 10, with the Cardinals. Number 10, Virginia. That is crazy to see. I said back in Media Day recaps in July with the ACC Media Day recaps that Virginia's thing, and to save Tony Elliott's job, this is his last gasp for Virginia, and to save his job, he needs a bowl. He needs to at least get 6 games. Virginia needs to get 6 games. Well, they're 8-1. They surpassed everything I said. They're 8-1, and they're first in the conference. They're first in the ACC. If I would have said, and they were low, they were rated low on my ACC conference standing projections. If I would have told you that Virginia was rated, back in the day, like going to be number one in the ACC and on their way probably to potentially an ACC championship game, you would have thought, or maybe even a CFP bid, you probably think I was insane. Chandler Morris, Tony Elliott, they have done a whole turnaround on that program, getting upset win after upset win. It started with Florida State, and they just started winning and winning and winning. They had some close calls, yes, but guess what? They keep on winning. They're not stopping. They're winning, and they're finding ways to win. Virginia, man, number 10 on my list is Virginia. Good on them. Good on Virginia. Number 9 is Texas Tech. Texas Tech's looking really good right now. They had a bounce back win against Kansas State. Good on them there. Gonna be interesting to see what happens Saturday in Lubbock against BYU. Speaking of BYU, they're ahead at number 8. They're undefeated in the Big 12. Number 1 of the Big 12 right now is BYU. I put them at number 8 by the way they are playing. They are playing tough football. They are in at number 8. Number 7 and 6 and 5. This is going to be caused a little bit of an uproar a little bit. Oregon is up there. I put Oregon at 7. Oregon is probably 5 like an AP poll. I put them at 7. And I put Ole Miss at 6 and Georgia at 5. I put Ole Miss at 6. I think they're playing really good. I think they're playing a little bit better than Oregon right now. And I put Georgia at 5 because they keep on winning. So I think Ole Miss and Georgia could go either way. I think Oregon could be a good spot there and go either way as well. I think Georgia's playing a little bit better than Oregon, just a tiny bit. And I think that Ole Miss is playing a little bit better than Oregon. That's why I put it in that order. 7 is Oregon, Ole Miss is 6, Georgia is 5. Here is 4 through 1, and we'll wrap up. 4 through 1. Number 4 is Alabama. Number 4 is Alabama. Alabama looks really, really good. 4 through 1 is kind of the same, and you're going to be like, really? 4 is Alabama. They look good. They're a good football team this year. A lot of people are not sold on Alabama yet. And I cannot believe they're not, because I think by November you would know by now that Bama is a really good football team. Ty Simpson is one of the best in the country. I think that Bama is playing at a level right now, even though they had a not so good game against South Carolina. They're playing at a level right now where, and this is a good way to put it, they're playing at a level where, okay, you kind of aren't really super impressed with them, but they just keep winning. They keep finding ways to win. They keep on humming. Just any means necessary to keep going. And that's what they're doing. They're just climbing and climbing and climbing. That's Bama. I think Bama's number 4. I think they're a really good football team. Number 3 is Texas A&M. Texas A&M looks really good. They deserve to be number 3. They are a top 3 team, in my opinion. That offense is clicking. Mike Elko's doing a heck of a job this season. I don't see them losing right now. And that is, I think they're most likely going to be in the SEC championship. So that's kind of a spoiler alert on A&M and Missouri and everything there. But that's just my thoughts. Maybe something changes by Thursday, but I don't know. A&M looks really good. Number 3 is A&M. 2 and 1 was a debate. And you're thinking, okay, there were rumblings around that in the first set of rankings, you were going to put Indiana at 1 and Ohio State at 2. Are the rumors true? They were true until I watched some of the games this past weekend, and I was like, I can't do it. Can't do it yet. Number 2 is Indiana, and number 1 is Ohio State. Ohio State's number 1 in my rankings right now until proven otherwise. I think they look good. They look good in the second half against Penn State. Indiana looked good as well, and it was very hard to debate. I just think the way Ohio State's playing right now, they just have an extra edge about them that puts them a little bit over the hump against Indiana, just a tiny bit. Ohio State's number 1, Indiana's number 2. And for this week, I think that's how it just solidifies everything. They just have that extra edge about them right now and that different level about them right now. That's my Frenzy playoff rankings for Week 11. Let me guys know what you think in the comments below. We're going to post them on X and Instagram at pigskin_frenzy. Follow and like on those channels. That's the Frenzy playoff rankings for Week 11. Guys, the playoff the college football committee rankings, actual rankings, I guess, come out tonight, but these are the rankings that matter, right? Ohio State is number 1 on the Frenzy playoff rankings. We are out of time. A big thank you for taking some time out of your Tuesday to just sit back, watch, and listen to some college football coverage presented by me. For watching on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, like each episode, leave comments down below. Spotify, Podbean, and Apple. All you got to do is just share around with others and follow on there as well. X and Instagram is at Pigskin_frenzy. Follow like the pages there. You're going to get episode updates, news and highlights from across college football, and you're going to get all things to date for Pigskin Frenzy, including the website www.pigskinfrenzy.weebly.com. Guys, 6,000 plus listeners and counting, about to be at 6,100 listeners and counting. A big thank you for taking some time out of your Tuesday and Thursdays, each and every week, is just listen to college football coverage presented by me. We could not do this show without you guys, and most importantly, we could not do this show without our Lord and Savior, Jesus. We give him all the praise and glory for bringing us to college football media, for delivering Pigskin Frenzy to us, and just letting us do this each and every week. We cannot do this show without him. We love him, and we give him all the praise. If you want to come to know Jesus, X and Instagram is at Pigskin_frenzy. Contact me down below there, and contact me on the website www.pigskinfrenzy.weebly.com on the contact info down there. Guys, thank you for joining us today. We have a great episode on tap for Thursday. We have our Week 11 guest picker, Max Chadwick from Pro Football Focus from PFF, joining the show. He's the co-host of the PFF College Football Show on there. Guys, you're not going to want to miss it. He's going to talk about his career in college football media. He's going to give us his ranking reactions to Week 11. He's going to talk about Week 11 upset alerts, and we're also going to preview and predict the Week 11 Pigskin Frenzy games, which are Navy at Notre Dame, Texas A&M at Missouri, Oregon at Iowa, and big one, BYU at Texas Tech. BYU at Texas Tech. Those are the Week 11 Pigskin Frenzy games. No LSU, Alabama. It is just kind of difficult to pick that game right now because I think an interim bump could happen, maybe, but it's looking like Bama could roll on Saturday, and that's what I'm thinking. So those are the 4 games that we're doing for Week 11. Those are the Pigskin Frenzy games with Max Chadwick, our Week 11 guest picker, joining us from PFF this Thursday. And until Thursday's edition of Pigskin Frenzy, I'm Joel Norris. We're signing off. We will see you then. For everybody out there, please and always stay the course.